Good morning, Likutei Moharan Zayin Tinyana. So John just told us a story how in his business he found himself confronted with an employee which was doing something maybe not right, and the original reaction would have been to give him, and in the end he ended up being compassionate and merciful and came out something good from it. And then he said that he didn't think about the Torah that we're learning until afterwards. 1 second, the regular me would have been aggressive. And here comes out a merciful person. By the way, how much better was it to go that way? How much good is going to come out of that?
He cried and hugged me.
Rabbeinu says that anything you accomplish with anger, if you would have done it with peace, you would have done it much better. It would have came out better. You got what you wanted with anger, but you would have gotten it in an easier, better way with kindness. So that's what he's saying. And I didn't realize. There is a pachot, I have to find it again. He's saying that many things you do, you learn it. Many limudim, you learn it and then you got to figure out how to apply it. You're very far from the application. I have to find his exact language, but he says that Likutei Moharan is not like that. The learning of the Likutei Moharan is the or and the keli. Meaning, usually you just make a keli by learning it. Then fill up the light, fill it up with whatever's written. Make it happen. But what if I tell you that the Likutei Moharan is the or and the keli? And I can't remember his exact language, so don't call me on it. But he's basically saying over there that the learning and the iyun and the working on understanding what Rabbeinu says is me'aveh all the tikkunim by the person. That actually makes it happen by you. So you want to become merciful, you want to become a person that leads with mercy, you want to teach Torah to other people and give them over second for the real purpose of having rachmanut on them, that they should have a meaningful life and a real existence after 120. How do you get to that? You're callous, you are crude, you are egocentric, you don't care about anybody. If you learn the Torah, you actually become the person that has pity. By understanding and midayak and working, the work in understanding what Rabbeinu is saying actually is me'aved the tikkunim by here. You want to be sameach, you're not sameach. So go learn a book on joy and then try to figure out to apply what it's written over there. That's one way, it's hard. But if you learn what Rabbeinu says on simcha, where the place that Rabbeinu brought the Torah from is actually the or and the keli together. That the real way to become sameach is to learn biyun what Rabbeinu said. So that's exactly what you're saying, John. See what's happening? It's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we holding? We are in Ot, at the end of Ot Vav. Always to go back, the leader has to have mercy. The mercy is to save people from sin. To save people from sin is by praying for them and teaching them. When you teach somebody, they become your student, they talmid, and they're continuing your job after 120 years. And you continue to get the benefits and dividends and royalties on what they're doing. And when you teach, you get a new download. You empty out what you know, you get new information. Makif. Now what about if you're the tzaddik ador? So what makif are you getting? We said yesterday, you're getting a makif of olam haba, which all this world is finite and that world is infinite. So the time of this world doesn't exist there. So if you want to have these musagim, this knowledge in this world, you can almost never even give it over because there's not enough time in this world to give it over. Like I told you that the Arizal slept, and Rab Chaim Vitel asked him what he was doing, his lips were mumbling, and he told him that I was learning in the Yeshiva of Heaven. And he told him, can you teach me what you learned? He said it would take 70 years. Because there, what you get in 1 second, a dream, when you dream, it's 15 seconds, but it could be a year. So how can I teach you how can I teach you what I got there in 15 seconds and 20-minute nap? There's a Gemara that says that David HaMelech learned in one night what it would take a Talmid Chacham 70 years to learn. How? Because if David HaMelech is going and learning there, so the time here is not the same at all. Once you're privy to those Hasagot, so you're tapping into what's called Marav Tufra Asher Tzafante Lirecha. You're privy now, you have access to the bliss of the next world. We said that the main pleasure of the next world is knowledge. So if you're tapping into that knowledge, you're not tapping into more to a regular limud, which is a limud of Onam Hazeh. You're tapping into a knowledge of the next world, which is a Gan Eden. So you're tapping into that place. Once you've tapped into that place, So you also have a second ma. Ma chamita, ma pishpashta. What do you know? You know nothing. The millionaire feels like he's made it until he meets the millionaire. And the millionaire thinks he made it and still he met the trillionaire. What do you know? What money do you have already? I'm a billionaire. And the trillionaire will say. So what about knowledge? You know the Shas, but do you know the Sod? Do you know Hasagot Erukut from the next world? So the tzaddik has that, gets that, he feels that. Rabbeinu once, after 3 days of Shavuot, where they were awake, Yomam Balayna, I have to find again where it's written, but if I remember well, Rabbi Natan came into Rabbeinu, and Rabbeinu was crying, asking Hashem, how do you become a Yid? How can I be a Jew? How can I be a simple Jew? We saw in Moharan last week that Rabbeinu's tefillot, remember what they were, his tefillot? He was telling a kid how to pray. And remember, a kid said to Rabbeinu, a youngster, how do I do Itbodut? So he said, you do Itbodut like this. God, please, is this what I came to the world for? To waste my time with these futilities? How do you say? This nonsense? I'm wasting my life with all kinds of narishkeit? That's what I came here? Rabbeinu is telling him, that's how you have to say to Hashem. When they left, they heard Rabbeinu from outside praying the same prayer himself. He was saying, please Hashem, did I come to the world for foolishness and narishkeit? You understand how modest he was and how humble he was? I once went to the Rav Zatzal. We're just starting off over here. I feel like, it's not enough. He told me too. When I started, I thought it would have done. And then I think to myself, what did I do with my life? The Rav Kenning is telling me, what did I do with my life? If you would have seen him, that's somebody who lived his life well. Rabbi Natan, if you look at the introduction of Anim Netrufa, if you would have known Rabbi Natan, or maybe it's Yemei Moranat, if you would have known Rabbi Natan, what he did in terms of learning, you would think he learns all day. What he did in terms of prayer, you would think that he prayed all day. What he did in terms of writing, you think that he writes all day. In kind of communal work, building the community, speaking to people, you think he does it all day. And he did all of them. He did 5 lifetime works in one lifetime. And Rabbi Natan could pray these types of prayer. God, what's going to be with me? What did I do? How does Rabbeinu pray like that? How does Rabbeinu say, God, they didn't sleep for 3 nights. They were up 3 nights, kimat. They were 2 nights of Shavuot, Chutz La'aretz, 1 night and a second night. And then the 3rd night, Rabbeinu stayed up the whole night. And I remember there, and it could have been a different time, but Rabbeinu was saying, how can I become a Jew? In complete simplicity to God. Please, God, I want to be a simple Yid. How are you saying simple Yid? You fast the whole week. You know the whole Torah at the top of your fingertips. You can make muftim like anything. You're taking Torot from Shamayim. You're telling when Mashiach is going to be. You gave Tikkun Klali that can fix all the. You said that you're the one that found Tikkun Klali, the only one. Tzadikim from the Adam Rishon, David Melech, we're looking for. You found it. You said that if Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was here, you would be the Rebbe. And you're telling me how you be a simple Yid? Yes. Because you don't know what there is. You don't know how great God is. God is so great that as much as you have done absolutely nothing. When you don't realize the greatness of Hashem, so you think you did something. Don't know that you can make millions and billions, so you're happy when you know. By the way, it's not a good example because you have to be happy with even a few dollars. You have to be happy, but don't pride yourself in that you've made something if there is much, much more to do and you haven't even started. So that's what Rabbeinu feels himself, which is called ma. Ma chamita ma pishpashta. All that was odvav. Now the tzaddik that he has that, he can actually give it over. So let's go again in Odzayin. V'zeh chacham shezocher le'elu ha'makifim b'chinat shefa ha'keter u'tzarich shelo b'chinat kol. So the tzaddik gets there, but he has to have 2 things. He has to have what's called kol. B'chinat ki kol b'shamayim u'va'aretz. The pasuk says, kol is in heaven and earth. We read this yesterday, but it's good to review. What is that? Hainu sheochez targumo deached b'shmayara. He's unifying the heavens and the earth. Hainu sheochez umikayem shte olamot. He's holding on to and establishing and making a platform for the two worlds. Olam elyon ve'olam atachton. The lower world and the higher world. Shem shamayim va'aretz. These are going to be interchangeable terms, which is called olam elyon, olam tachton. Shem shamayim va'aretz. Heaven and earth. Ki atzadik ve'achacham. He adds the word tzaddik here. The tzaddik and the chacham. Tzaddik is referring to purity. Chacham is avodat Hashem. Chacham is wisdom, how to give over. The tzaddik, who is the chacham, he is completely holy, and so therefore he knows how to use his wisdom to build other people. Utzarich she'ochez v'shneim. Gotta hold both. Likayem kol echad v'echad b'chinato. To give a platform, to establish, to give existence to each one on his level. Yesh darim ma'ala v'yesh darim mata. Another interchangeable term, which is going to be synonymous with heaven and earth, olam elyon and olam tachton, which is called darim ma'ala, the ones who live above, darim mata, the ones who live below. Dainu olam elyon ve'olam tachton, b'chinat shamayim va'aretz. The reason the Rebbe interchanges the terms is because he's using psukim from everywhere to build his point, and each one gives a little bit of a different angle. So I'm showing you two sides of the coin. I'm throwing you a 3D image. One is called Shamayim, one is called Darei Malna, one is called Olam Elyon, and all of them are going to complete the understanding of the whole concept. וצריך הצדיק להראות לדרי מעלה, שאינם יודעים כלל בידתו יתברך, שזה בחינת השגה של מה, בחינת מה חמית מה פשפשת. He needs to be able to show to the Dari Mana that they don't know a thing. Like we said yesterday, what is the Yetzer Hara of a person who's doing good in Avodat Hashem? What do you say? How do you say complacency? He's happy with himself. He's patting himself on the back. I made it, I'm good. A Gaon, for example, Rav Avad Yosef, Rav Moshe Feinstein, a Brisker Rov. They're going to be Geunim even if they learn half the time that they could learn. I think the father of the Satmar Rebbe once had a guest in his house. And he wanted to show the guest his young Yoel, who became the Satmar Rebbe, who was a Gaon. He came into the bedroom with the baby, and he took like a feather or something, and he tickled the ear of the baby. So the young baby, toddler, whatever it was, took his finger, wrapped it in the blanket, and scratched his ear, and scratched his head. Because you know, if you scratch your head, you can't learn Torah. If you get some sweat underneath the fingernails, you got to go wash your hands before you learn. So the child in his crib was so sensitive that when he wakes up, he has to be able to learn right away that he's gonna make sure not to scratch his head. Like usually in the day, if you learn, you scratch your head with your kippah. Don't scratch the head, because you're gonna wash your hands. So he would scratch his head while sleeping with his blanket. Understand what type of souls there are? His father told him, I want you to learn. Please be a matmin. Because a Rebbe you're going to be. But I want you to be Tamid Chacham. Some people are born to be Rebbes. Their souls are not regular souls. They will be leaders. Now, what do I know about his leadership? His level of tzidkut? It's like, do I know? I don't know anything. He's light years beyond me. So he's my Rebbe, he's my Rab. But he could have learned that much more. He could have made it to the next level. So how do you take a person who's already on top and get him to move it? So you need somebody who's much bigger and to say, what do you think you did already? You did nothing at all. Ma chamita ma pishpashta. This is called the Hasagat of Ma. You need to give that Hasagat to a person. Rabbeinu had a Talmud, Rabbi Yudu. So Rabbi Yudu was living in the city of Dashev. Rabbi Yudu himself was a great Mikuban, a great Talmid Chacham. He was basically the mashpia of the city of Dashev, the tzaddik of the city of Dashev. He had a Talmud, that's a long story, that got married in Medvedike. And he told that Talmud, before you go to live in that city, whatever you do, don't go into Rabbi Nachman. Because they heard, there was machlok in Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi was 18 years old. And so that Talmud ended up moving there. He got married, and eventually, a long story, that he ended up going to Rabbeinu, and he changed completely. Rabbeinu picked him up and helped him with many things. When he had to go back to his original city of Dashiv, which was very far, I think 200 kilometers away from where Medvedika was, so he asked Rabbeinu, what do I tell my old Rebbe when I see him? He said, you tell him exactly where you got your energy from. And so he came back to the city, and they saw that he was a changed man. And so the Rabbi Yehuda was actually a very honest person. He was searching truth. So he asked him, what happened to you? You changed. He said, I'll tell you, I became close to Rabbeinu. So he said, if he is able to do that to you, I'm going to see him. So he got his chaverim, they started to walk. They walked by foot, if I remember. They were so poor. The rabbis back then were poor. They weren't rich rabbis like today. And Rabbeinu says, why? Because in the Gilgul, they were poor, now they can do it rich. It's the same tzaddikim. So he walked to Rabbeinu, and he got into the room of Rabbeinu, and he told Rabbeinu in Yiddish, but in Lashon Kodesh they write, the Rebbe should teach us the ways of Hashem. That's the way that Gedolim speak to each other. Yorenu Rabbeinu derech Hashem. What is the way to come close to Hashem? Rabbeinu, basically what he did is he took off his veil of holiness. Another place, Rabbeinu says that if I would take off my veil of holiness, you wouldn't be able to come close to my house for Amot. You would be so scared. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he comes down from the mountain, his face is shining. People were scared to come close to him. He had to put a mask. The tzaddik has that as well, in order to allow you to have some relationship with him, because otherwise you will be petrified. You will shiver. You will not be able to come close to him. So Rabbeinu basically took off his veil of Yirat Shamayim, and he put a pachad on Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Yehuda, to the point, this great Rebbe tzaddik, got so scared he went to the corner, if I remember well, he started to shiver and cry like a child, out of fear of Rabbeinu. And then Rabbeinu was mekarev him, started to smile to him and be nice to him, and then eventually he told him again, he did the same thing again, 3-4 times. And basically what that was, is that Rabbeinu was showing him, what do you know? By the way, from that moment onward, he cleaved to Rabbeinu, became a Talmid Rabbeinu, he moved to live next to Rabbeinu. But Rabbeinu showed him, you're a great Rebbe, but what do you know? He told him, by the way, Ladat Baretz Darkecha, the language he told him there was, you want to know of Hashem when you're still in the mud? Teach us the ways of Hashem. Rabbeinu told him, you want to know Hashem? You're in Tavot. You're in the mud. You haven't even started yet. He showed that to Rabbi Yehuda, the Rebbe, a Gaon, who was Talmid of the Talmid of Magid. So this is the Hasagat Ma. You don't know a thing yet. We'll stop here. Chazak Baruch.